Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
It's the third homestand of the season, and Walters is ready to be your pre- and post-game spot this weekend. Bottomless Brunch begins at 11 a.m. on both Saturday and Sunday. Enjoy bottomless mimosas, Bloody Marys, Truly, and Bud Light for just $20 with your purchase of a brunch entree. Be it beer, burgers, bourbon, or baseball, we encourage you to walk on over to Walters.
During these weekend homestands, Walters is the perfect spot to hang out in Navy Yard before, during, and after the game.
Now the kick and the pitch, swing and a foul tip held by Gomes. Strike three and a Curly W's in the books. After the walk to Sierra, Voth strikes out the next three batters on a Curly W in the books in a series win for the Nationals, who take the first 2 of 3 from the Marlins. The Nationals 7 and the Marlins 2.
That's called a winning streak. It has happened before.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Sunday, May 2nd, 2021, along with Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of MASNsports.com. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Well, don't look now, but the Nationals have themselves a 3-game winning streak for the first time this season, and the Nats now are a mere game below 500 at 11-12. A 7-2 win over the Miami Marlins at Nationals Park on Saturday afternoon. Patrick Corbin, terrific for a second time this season. The Nationals offense, tattoos, the Marlins starter, Paul Campbell, and then an old pal, the former Nats pitcher, Ross Detwiler. Nats put up all 7 of their runs over the first 4 innings, and the Nationals mark a chance to author their first 3-game sweep of the season on Sunday.
Good things are happening, Al. It's starting to come together. And I don't know, did we think this was coming? Maybe we saw some glimpses of it, but for all the things they've had to deal with over the first month of the season, and they've had to deal with maybe more than almost any team in baseball, the fact that they're 11-12, a chance at a sweep with Max Scherzer on the mound. I mean, look, they still have their issues. I'm not going to try to say that this team is, ready to be a World Series contender, but I give them credit. The way they've hung in there, you do see some positive developments and signs coming. And they're beating up on a team that, frankly, I think they feel like they probably should beat. And that's a great sign. If you can start doing that and maybe get on a little bit of a roll here, and they could sweep the weekend and be 500 going into a big series with the Braves, watch out. There's going to be some good vibes around here.
Baseball is such a roller coaster in terms of the 162. Nats have played just 23 games. It feels sometimes like they played 230 with like all of the different things that have happened. And, they've had games and stretches where we've talked on this podcast of like, this is a tough season and there are some bigger picture issues. And those things, like you said, don't go away. But 11-12, especially given the 1-5 start. 10-7 since the 1-5 start. And the Nats now are 6-3 without Juan Soto. If you're Davey Martinez, you would have taken that and run 100 miles with that. That you're going to go 6-3 over your first 9 games without Juan Soto. They are, as the saying goes, staying in the fight despite being without their best player.
Without Juan Soto and without Steven Strasburg, and it's going to be a while longer for Strasburg. Soto may be getting closer, but Strasburg, we're still talking a few weeks away. I want to be careful to make this comparison because obviously every year is different. Every team is different, but there are some 2019 characteristics about this team that I've noticed that I did not notice last year. Now, it's hard because I'm not in the clubhouse. I don't have direct access to them to really have a sense and a feel for what's going on. But you saw it after the game Friday night when Kyle Schwarber walked in the Caps helmet, the rally helmet. We got a little more details about how that came about. The Caps wear a Nats helmet after games and give it to their player of the game. The Caps decided to return the favor, gave them a helmet. Davey decided to hand it out to Schwarber after the game. He passed it on to Lester afterwards. You hear them talking about the character in the clubhouse, that even when things were going bad for them, they stuck together. These are characteristics of the 2019 team. Ultimately, yes, you need the talent. You need to stay healthy, all the other things if you're going to be a real contender. But I like the personality this team seems to be starting to develop. And maybe, unlike in 2019, they're figuring it out a little sooner and not waiting until they're 50 games in to start solving their problems.
Yeah, no doubt. And of course, it's also been a strange season in that the losses have been by a lot, but a lot of the wins have been by a lot. Like that 2-1 10-inning win on Friday night, that really was the exception, not the rule for this season. Nationals with another pretty sizable victory on Saturday afternoon, 7-2 ends up being the final. There's a lot to get to with the offense, but I think the headline is Patrick Corbin. And have you ever seen a more Jekyll and Hyde start to a pitcher's season than what we're seeing with Patrick Corbin? 5 starts now. He's been awful in 3 of them. He's been basically lights out, though, in the other 2. I mean, it feels like there's no middle ground right now for Patrick Corbin. But the good news is that it's not all bad anymore. He had that one good start, but now he's got at least a couple of good starts you could point at. He goes out there on Saturday afternoon, 2 runs in 7 innings, 4 strikeouts versus 4 hits and 4 walks, one of which was intentional. Unlike in his previous outing, he threw strikes, 93 pitches, 62 of which end up being for strikes. And I was looking at this after the game. I mean, it's really wacko what's happened here. His 3 bad starts this season, 19 earned runs in 10 1/3 innings. His 2 good starts this season, 2 runs in 13 innings. He's like 2 different people so far this year.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Gio Gonzalez is the only other one I can think of who might be that erratic start to start. But even with Gio, you kind of, like even his best starts at times were the ones where he was getting himself into trouble and finding a way to get out of it and not necessarily dominating. And really his bad starts weren't usually as bad as Corbin's were. I don't know that many veteran pitchers have starts as bad as Corbin's were. So it is odd. I thought it was interesting that he mentioned after this one that there were some mechanical changes. He felt like he was able to use his lower half more than he had driving, using his full body, and that helps with the command. But I think also it helped with his velocity. He was consistently hitting 93 in this game. I think he topped out at 94. That's a really good sign. He was locating on both sides of the plate with his fastball, and that allowed his slider to be effective. And even though the results weren't as impressive as that other previous really good start, maybe this one was in some ways better because of that, but just the way he looked, the way the stuff looked. This was against, not a great Marlins lineup, and we're going to need to see it more consistently start to start. But I thought this was a pretty significant step forward for him if he really did find something with his mechanics, and that can carry over into his next outing.
I think we've learned a lesson by now, and that is not to say, okay, Patrick Corbin has arrived, because we don't know. Like, he's got to do this 2, 3, 4 consecutive starts, and then we can have that conversation. I mean, you brought up the point on the last installment of the podcast. It may well be that the Nationals strategically rested Joe Ross in this series so he would start against the Atlanta Braves as opposed to, say, Corbin. Like, that is very telling with the kind of season that Patrick has had. But the velocity was key, like you said. I mean, hitting what he was hitting, that was what was so troubling about last season. And even at times this season where the velocity wasn't what you're used to seeing, and you're like, okay, is this guy starting to lose it, or what exactly are we looking at here? He does do a better job at throwing strikes on Saturday afternoon, which was good to see. And, he doesn't necessarily have like a bunch of dominant innings or even clean innings. He had just one clean inning. That was the top of the 3rd. But not unlike John Lester on Friday, okay, a couple of guys would get on, but he would find a way to weave himself out of the trouble.
And he got good help from his defense, which I think we need to start talking about a little bit more. Their infield defense, especially Trea Turner, has been fantastic over the first month of this season. He entered the day at +5 in defensive runs saved, tied for the tops among all shortstops in the major leagues. I'm guessing he's going to go up to +6 after the play he made on Saturday on Jesus Aguilar in the 3rd inning. I don't know if that's exactly how the formula works. It may not just be one great play is a +1 for your DRS, but he was really good. And I think you're seeing more and more the difference he can make. I know Starlin Castro hasn't been perfect at third base, but I think he's been much smoother over there than maybe we thought for a guy who hasn't played the position a lot. I think defense is helping a lot, especially with Lester and Corbin. Corbin, he came through. He struck out some hitters with 2 outs to get out of innings and all that stuff. But defense matters, and I think we've seen it in the first 2 games of this series.
Yes, I agree. And I think the defensive metrics are key because nobody watches every pitch of every game. So kind of depending on what you see, that'll influence what you think about a team defensively. Like if you turned on Nats Marlins later in the game on Saturday and you saw Yadiel Hernandez losing multiple balls in the sun, you'd be like, oh my God, this team is still so bad defensively. It's like, well, no, you got to watch the whole game and see what you're looking at. Understand, though, if you do go by defensive runs saved coming into games on Saturday, the Nationals were tied for first in the majors in defensive runs saved with the Arizona Diamondbacks at +18. I mean, that is a stunner considering how bad the Nats were defensively last season and how bad, truthfully, they've been for years. Like, it wasn't just a last season thing. The Nats have consistently been a bottom half of the majors team in terms of DRS for a good long while here. So hats off to them for doing this, at least so far. Defensive metrics, I mean, you want to see them over a long haul, but hey, we're a month into the season. It's not like, we just started last week and they're doing good things. Like, this is really encouraging to see that. And maybe, just maybe, a team that on paper, you say to yourself, like, how is this team going to be good defensively? maybe this is one of those years where they are doing that. They obviously got some veterans, experienced guys at various spots, but especially with someone like Trea Turner, who was bad defensively last year, if he's doing this drastic one-season turnaround thing and, obviously can hold that over the course of a season, that is so valuable, especially for a starting pitching reliant team as the Nats obviously are.
I think you're seeing the importance of good defense up the middle. Trea Turner at shortstop, Victor Robles in center field. The catchers have been pretty good behind the plate as well. I think that's something. I think Josh Bell has, I'm not going to say he's been a good first baseman, but he hasn't been a butcher out there. There's a couple plays that you're like, I'm not so sure about that. But he has not really cost them in the field yet. And you know who else had a really nice throw and almost threw out a runner trying to tag up from third? Kyle Schwarber. The guy's got a cannon out there, apparently. And I mean, that was one of those that you start to fill in your scorecard with the run the moment that they catches the ball because you're not even thinking there's a chance at a play. And he made it a close play at the plate on a line drive to medium left field. That guy has been way more impressive than I was expecting, especially with his arm. Let's see how this all plays out. But they have been a better defensive team than we thought, and they need to clean up some little mistakes that still happen. Harrison had an error in this game. But at the most important positions, it feels like they have been above average, and that's a big step up from last year.
The Harrison error, by the way, he's playing up the middle on the outfield grass in the shift. The ball is hit right to him. That was an example of the shift working to perfection. It was a hard-hit grounder by Lewis Brinson. It goes under Harrison's leg, so it was a bad play on Harrison's part, but that was like perfection with the shift, and it's just the guy didn't execute there. So I got a kick out of that when we saw that. Hey everyone, Al Galdi here to tell you about FanDuel. So we've all had that dream, right? Tie game, bottom of the ninth, bases loaded. Well, on FanDuel Sportsbook, you get more than one shot to swing for the fences because FanDuel is letting you place your first bet risk-free. That's right, new users get up to $1,000 back in site credit if your first bet doesn't win, and it only gets better from there. Once you have an account, you'll have access to same-game parlay insurance all season long. That's up to $25 back in site credit each day if your same-game parlay bet falls one leg short. This way you can combine multiple baseball bets for an even bigger win. How about the Sunday Nighter this weekend? National League East battle, Mets at the Phillies. If you have a hunch that the Mets can beat Zach Eflin, then feel free to plunk down some cash on New York. There's a reason that FanDuel Sportsbook is America's #1 sportsbook. The app is simple to use. They've got great odds on all different betting markets, unique fun bet types like same-game parlay and always-on promotions to let you get more action out of every game day. And when you win, FanDuel will pay you your winnings in as little as 24 hours. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code CHAT to get in on the action. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code CHAT.
21 plus and present in Colorado, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, or West Virginia. First on my real money wager, only for risk-free bet. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site. Credit that expires in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado. 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 1-800-9-WITH in Indiana. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia. Tennessee, 1-800-889-9789, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net.
Are you interested in buying or selling your home? Support for Nats Chat comes from Rachel Levy of Compass Real Estate. By focusing on the personal parts of the real estate process and using technology to simplify the rest, Rachel seamlessly guides her clients through their experience. Rachel uses her deep local knowledge and exceptional customer service to advocate for her clients all across D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. To learn more, follow her on Instagram at RealEstateRachel.
Detwiler, third base side of the mound, sets and kicks and pitches. Swinging a line drive right field, base hit toward the line. This will score Turner, and Hernandez rolls all the way to the warning track and to the wall. Headed home is Schwarber, and it's going to be a 3-run double for Josh Bell. Bell clears the bases with his first hit of the season right-handed, and the Nationals now lead it 7-0.
I got to say this. Ross Detwiler is still in the majors. I always get a kick out of seeing these guys. We mentioned Sandy Leon on the last installment of the podcast. The Nats took Ross Detwiler with the number 6 pick in the 2007 draft. It was Detwiler who replaced Strasburg in the Nats rotation in 2012 when Strasburg got shut down. And old Ross is still having a career. Nats weren't too easy on him on Saturday afternoon. But how about that? Good for him, still having himself an MLB career.
68th career appearance at Nationals Park for Ross Detwiler, but his first in 6 years. September of 2015, when he was with the Braves, is the last time that he appeared in a game here. And there was a little bit, when Jerome Huruska announces his name over the PA system, there was like a brief, like a pause, and then people started clapping. They were, oh yeah, Ross Detwiler, I remember him. Yeah, all right, good for him. Credit to him that he's hung around this long for a guy who's not really had that great of a career. He's had a few moments, but has not had a great career. But if you're left-handed, you can pitch for a long time if you can stay healthy, and, good for him. But he did not pitch well in this game. Walked the first two batters, loaded him up for Josh Bell, and I thought that was the big hit of the whole game. Josh Bell's bases clearing double, hitting right-handed, opposite field. And I know it wasn't one of those that, off the bat, you're just oohing and eyeing over the contact he was making, the loud sound or anything like that. But I thought both of his hits in this game, RBI single, 3-run double, were good signs because he's hitting line drives with runners in scoring position to drive home runs. It doesn't have to be all or nothing with him. It doesn't have to be home runs. It doesn't always have to be loud outs to the warning track. If you can consistently hit line drives in those situations, that's going to go a long way. And I think he seemed pretty satisfied with that as well.
The last time we talked Josh Bell in depth, I brought up the launch angle and how that was the big difference, how the exit velocity this season had actually been on par with where it was at in that career best 2019 season. And we mentioned how the launch angle for the season up until that point had been in the negative territory, I think negative 4 degrees or 0.4 degrees. It's now in the positive territory. It's creeping up there, and he's starting to elevate a little bit. He's still hitting balls hard. That was always the thing with Josh Bell's struggles. Like, the struggles were painful. There's no doubt about that. But the process seemed to be there from a standpoint of hitting balls hard. And that 2-out, 3-run double in that 5-run fourth on Saturday, that also came on an 0-2 pitch. And with the frequency with which Josh Bell has struck out this season, that to me is a big deal, that on an 0-2 pitch, he's able to turn water into wine and drive in 3 runs like that. So really good to see Josh Bell get going recently. Let's see, he's got to keep it up. He's got a lot of ground to make up for, but very good game for him offensively at the plate. Yan Gomes, we've seen a lot of Alex Avila so far this season. I think that's been kind of interesting. But Gomes on Saturday, 2 for 4 with a homer, a single, and a couple of RBI. Nice to see that. Nationals really did get contributions throughout the lineup. Trea Turner had himself a nice game, 2 for 5, 2 singles, 2 stolen bases. Josh Harrison, 3 for 5, double, 2 singles, and an RBI. The offense perhaps is starting to, we talk about regress to the mean, progress to the mean a little bit, because some of these guys have felt like, okay, they're not this bad. The offense may be an issue for the Nationals throughout the year, but it's certainly not the dreck that we saw with those 5 shutout losses early in the season. I feel like we're starting to see more, okay, this makes more sense what this lineup is doing.
Yeah, I agree. As we've said all along, Bell and Schwarber, even if they have bad seasons, they're not going to be hitting, 109 for the season. They're going to be better than that. So that's good. Yadiel Hernandez continues to hit every opportunity that he gets. And until Juan Soto's out, I think you're going to continue to see him high up in the lineup. And Josh Harrison continues to hit. The one guy who I would say is still, they're kind of waiting on and it hasn't quite looked right yet, is Starlin Castro. And that's been a disappointment and a little bit of a surprise because he is a very professional hitter and someone that I thought they missed last year when he got hurt, and you would notice the difference of having him back this year. He's come up to bat with runners on base a lot. And aside, I know he did lead the team in RBIs. I don't know if he still does. Aside from some big hits early, the first couple weeks of the season, he's had some bad at-bats here lately in chances and opportunities that he could have really driven in some runs and extended leads and things like that. So they need to get him going right. Overall, I think you do like what you're seeing. You are seeing guys progressing to what they're supposed to be. And here's one. We talked about Trea Turner's defense. He had 2 stolen bases in this game. He's now got 6 home runs and 7 stolen bases in 23 games this year. You know what that works out to over 162, Al?
Alfonso Soriano.
42 homers, 49 stolen bases. There has not been a 40-40 player since Alfonso Soriano out of the Nationals in 2006. There's a long way to go. I think the 40 stolen bases is a reasonable goal for Trea Turner. 40 homers, I don't know if he's got that in him. That would be pretty remarkable. But just the fact that we're even having that discussion 1 month in tells you how good of a start he's off to, in addition to the great defense.
Yeah, he's played, if we're being honest, at an MVP level. I'm not saying he'd be the MVP right now, but you talk about all-around performance, offensively and defensively. Trea Turner is doing that. I mean, the guy is slugging .549 on the season. That's outstanding. I mean, that's like MVP territory, what he's doing so far on the year. Yeah, with Castro, he does still lead the Nats with 13 RBI, but that to me is like emblematic of how that stat can be so misleading. He's not having a good season offensively Davey, it was bizarre. He had him as a cleanup batter in game one. That lasted one game. Davey dropped him down in the order for Saturday to that number 6 spot. Yeah, it's interesting with the Davey lineups. Davey's still trying to figure it out. He's still mixing and matching. It reminds me, for those of you listening who are Capitals fans, Peter Laviolette did this for so much of the Cap seasons. Like every game, there was a line change. It was trying to figure out the right combination. And you still get that sense with Davey in the lineup. Have the Nats in back-to-back, I guess they probably have. I'm trying to think of how often the Nats have had the same lineup in consecutive games this season. It certainly hasn't happened often. I think it's safe to say that.
Yeah, no, not nearly as much as you would want. And it's funny because I think coming out of spring training, we had a pretty good sense of what it would look like 1 through 8 on a fairly regular basis. Maybe the catchers would be changing sometimes. Maybe Zim would be playing instead of Bell. We had a pretty good idea. And then the combination of the COVID IL situation and Soto's injury and Bell and Schwarber off to the bad start and Yadiel Hernandez emerging out of nowhere, it has kind of forced the issue where he's got to mix and match every day and try to find the right combination. I'm guessing we'll see something different on Sunday because I'm guessing that Zimmerman will actually be in the lineup against the lefty. You would certainly hope so. But it may have to be mix and match for a little while until they start to get the big guys hitting the way they're supposed to, until they get Soto back in the lineup. This may just have to be the way they go about it.
Yeah, and hopefully that happens soon. But like we said, 6-3 without Juan Soto. I mean, how many people would have anticipated something like that? Another bright spot for the Nationals on Saturday was the bullpen, which continues to be a strength for this team. You don't have to use any of the A-team. None of the varsity guys are summoned, so you're able to give Brad Hand and Daniel Hudson rest. So those guys will be good to go on Sunday, especially with the Nationals having the off day on Monday. Kyle Finnegan, a scoreless top of the 8th. And then how about Austin Voth in the top of the 9th? First appearance for him since he had that great outing last Sunday afternoon, the 4-0 loss at the Mets. Voth in that game, 3 scoreless innings, 4 strikeouts. He comes into the game, provides a scoreless top of the 9th, 3 more strikeouts. Velocity topping out at 97.1 miles per hour if you go by the data on MLB.com. We've discussed this with Voth. It seems more of a certainty now than certainly ever before this season. He's finding himself, and the Nats have found a role for him that he really seems to be taking to. He's looked really good so far.
This is a seemingly behind the scenes, but I think a really significant development for them so far. I will admit that based on what I saw from him last year and what I saw from him this spring when he was starting, I didn't have a whole lot of reason to believe that he had much of a future with the organization. And maybe he benefited in the end from being out of options and the roster issues that they had where they essentially had to put him on the team. There's always been this thought, because he often as a starter would be good the first time through the lineup and then would crumble after that. There's always been a little bit of a thought there. Maybe he could play as a short inning reliever, face a lineup once, and that's it. But what has stood out is when he is able just to empty the tank and face hitters for 1 inning or 2 innings, he can get the velocity up there. He never threw 96, 97 as a starter. No chance, not even close to that. So if he can actually consistently do that and show that his arm can handle the workload of throwing in short bursts, but being available 2 out of 3 days, 3 out of 4 days, that kind of thing, that's a secret weapon that they were not anticipating. I think they felt like he was just going to be stashed away in the bullpen as a long reliever. And instead, he may wind up being somebody they can consistently call upon in, maybe not the most high leverage situations, but as a bridge guy, or certainly on these days where you want to avoid using your A bullpen at the end of a game because you have a fairly comfortable lead, and he can shut the door and not, make you have to sweat it or have to warm up Brad Hand in the 9th inning of a game that you lead by 5 runs. So that is a sneaky, significant development to me of this first month of the season.
There's no doubt. I mean, most relievers are failed starters, and some of the best relievers we've seen are guys who failed spectacularly as starters. I mean, Zach Britton was a failure as a starter and then became an elite reliever. We've seen it with a lot of other guys over the years. The Nationals have certainly dealt with this. Craig Stammen was a starter, became a reliever. Tyler Clippard, not for the Nationals, but he was a starter with the Yankees, then became a reliever.
Brad Hand,
exactly. That's the way it's worked for so many of these guys over the years. And I've said this, and I really believe this, not everyone is designed to pitch, 5, 6, 7 innings. You got to find what guys do well and then focus on that. So if a guy is good over an inning or 2, then just do that. Don't try to cookie cutter everybody into pitching the same way. And isn't it funny, too, for all of the years we have had the same 3 guys fighting for the number 5 spot in the Nats rotation, Joe Ross, Eric Fedde, Austin Voth. Could it be, remarkably, that each guy is finding himself this season? Ross has been a bright spot as a starter. Fedde has been a bright spot as a starter. Voth is emerging as a reliever. Who'd have thought that all 3 of these guys would be major bright spots for the Nationals at least, 25 games or so into the season?
I wouldn't have even thought that all three would be on the team together, let alone all three thriving on the team at the same time. Now, like you said, there's a long way to go. Let's see how it plays out. But these have been really encouraging signs. I don't think it's a fluke what we've seen from them so far. Certainly Ross and Fetty have seemed to turn a corner as starters, and Voth is showing that he may have a second career in him as a reliever. Let's see how the arm holds up again with a different kind of workload than he's ever been used to. But so far, really encouraging stuff.
Hey everyone, Tim Shover's here to tell you about Sunday Scaries CBD. Sunday Scaries are specially formulated CBD gummies with vitamins D3 and B12 that taste absolutely delicious and are easy to take on the go. Sunday Scaries CBD gummies help you live life scare-free by promoting a sense of calm, quieting your mind, and just helping you to chill out and relax. They sent me a care package a few weeks ago. I've been taking it before I go to bed. It's been working very well, as I have struggled with sleep throughout my entire life. Here's what they tell you in the box, and I think it would work for many of you. Taken by young professionals, entrepreneurs, college students, moms, and yogis who want a healthy and non-habit-forming alternative for chilling the F out. If that applies to you, then get you some Sunday Scaries CBD gummies. In fact, Sunday Scaries CBD gummies and CBD oil have won glowing coverage in publications like Men's Health, Forbes, Allure, and Best Products. Today, you can get 25% off your first order with the code natschat at sundayscaries.com. That's 25% off your first order at sundayscaries.com. Enter code natschat where it asks for a coupon on the checkout page. Ready to chill out and get some much-needed peace of mind? Head to sundayscaries.com right now to get 25% off some sweet, sweet CBD gummies.
Support for Nats Chat comes from Manscaped, which has the best men's grooming tools to get the job done. Fellas, listen up. Manscaped is here to ensure your post-quarantine body is ready for whatever the world throws at it. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement for all of your male grooming needs. I just got mine in the mail the other day. I'm excited to finally use it. This is the best trimmer on the market for those of you in need of a chest shave. Their third-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, thanks to advanced skin-safe technology pioneered by Manscaped. You can also adjust settings to get a length that you like, and you can stay on top of it with almost no effort at all. The Perfect Package 3.0 kit comes with the Essential Lawnmower 3.0 waterproof cordless body trimmer and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your manscaping routine. For a limited time, subscribers get 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag, a $39 value add, and the patented high-performance reduced chafing Manscaped Boxers. Get your 20% off plus free shipping with the code WASHINGTON at manscaped.com. Do yourself a favor and always use the right tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code WASHINGTON at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And don't forget to use the code WASHINGTON. All right, so Sunday afternoon, 1:05, the Nationals go for their first 3-game sweep of the season. And it's not just that. The Nationals are looking to have a series for the first time this year where you're 3 for 3 in terms of your starting pitching being good, right? We've had this high variance with Nationals starting pitchers this season of one game a guy's great, another game a guy's bad. Like, it's been really bizarre in that regard. Well, John Lester, very good in his Nats debut Friday night. Patrick Corbin, very good in the win on Saturday afternoon. Max Scherzer is going on Sunday, and obviously, in theory, that's a great thing. He is coming off having struggled in that 9-5 loss to Toronto in Dunedin on Tuesday night. 7 runs, 5 earned in 5 innings. Seems to me, though, the likelihood of Max struggling in back-to-back starts, especially when he's facing a familiar foe in the Marlins, pretty low. I would think Max goes out there and kills it on Sunday afternoon.
I may regret making this prediction, but I feel like he's a pretty sure bet on Sunday. How often have you seen Max Scherzer have back-to-back really bad starts? Very rare that we've ever seen that. And with due respect to the Marlins, who are a scrappy team, and I do like a lot of their young talent, this lineup as currently constructed is not all that imposing. I think it's a lineup that Max Scherzer can look at and handle quite well. He's not going to be facing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in this game, so that should help matters quite a bit. I have a feeling this is going to be a big-time start from Max Scherzer. I'm not a betting man, but I'd put some good money down on Max Scherzer for a 10 strikeout performance on Sunday.
For those of you who are on board with FanDuel, note that and go ahead and make usage of that. It is worth pointing out the Nationals are facing a guy for the Marlins who's been really good so far this year, the lefty Trevor Rogers, 1.29 ERA over 5 starts. He's averaging 12.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. So we've seen the Nats bats come alive here over these last few games. Hope it continues on Sunday. Might be a struggle, though. Rogers has been quite good so far this season.
Yeah, and always interesting when you're now facing the lefty. They really have not faced many lefties at all this year, starters. And that's one of the reasons why Zim hasn't played a lot. I fully expect him to be in the lineup. Maybe he'll even be hitting third. And then there's that interesting question. We saw it in Dunedin when they did face the lefty Steven Matz, and Davey had to decide who was going to be in right field. As good as Yadiel Hernandez has been, he decided to bench him in favor of Hernan Perez, who has not had a hit since opening day, his first at-bat of the season. Would they do that again, or would they say, no, you know what, Yadiel, you're hitting over 400 for us. We're going to let you face the lefty. Let's see what you can do for us.
If Davey starts Hernan on Sunday, I mean, I'm going to go nuts. No way should that happen. That's insanity if that happens. It's enough, okay? Save Hernan for a relief appearance in a 12-2 loss, all right? Go ahead and do that. At this point, the era of Hernan is over, all right? Let Yadiel rake. He's been terrific so far. Like, don't get too cute with the lineup. That's the thing. Davey's been tinkering with the lineups a lot. And I get it. The Nationals have been very good offensively, but, geez, when you're putting in Hernan Perez, I don't know. Maybe you got to stop tinkering and just let guys have at it here. All right, well, we have been soliciting for your emails, Tales of Little League, with Little League seasons in full effect. We've gotten a lot of great emails with this topic. natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Gave you a good one in the last installment of the podcast. We have another one for you here right now. It comes from our friend Mike, and I will not say your last name, Mike, because I'm afraid I'll mispronounce it, but we'll just go ahead and call him Mike P. And he writes this email. He says, as I sit listening on a plane to your podcast and hearing your latest Little League story, what hand are you? I thought of one when I was a kid. I think I am 6 years old, playing up on the 7 to 8-year-old team. I am the youngest on the team and playing right field. During a game, a fly ball comes out to me. I reach up and catch it for the third out. The crowd goes crazy. Parents are yelling and clapping and high-fiving me when I come to the bench. After all the parents sit back down and congratulate me, my dad comes and says, you should have caught that. It was a can of corn, came right to you, and then goes back and sits down. I laugh about that story all the time. Make the plays you are supposed to make, even when you're 6 years old. Good lesson. Love the show. Listen every day. How about that tough love for our guy Mike back in the day when he makes a nice catch in right field as a 6-year-old playing on a 7 to 8-year-old team?
I'm sorry, but to Mike's dad, but any 6-year-old who catches a fly ball is worthy of a standing ovation in my mind. I've seen plenty of 6-year-olds attempt to catch fly balls or attempt to get out of the way of fly balls. And when it happens, it's a big deal. I do not call that a routine play. That is certainly not a can of corn in my mind. Do you know, by the way, why it's called a can of corn?
I don't.
So this goes way back to when old grocers would have a pole to pull down cans from the shelves for customers. And the cans of corn that were up high were apparently the easiest ones. They would pull it down off the rack and then take their apron and use it as like a basket to catch. And the can of corn was like the easiest one because I guess it's smallest and lightest, something like that. And somehow that became part of the baseball vernacular. A routine fly ball is a can of corn, and that's the story behind it.
You know, if there's defensive run save for Little League, anytime a fly ball is caught, that's like plus 50 in defensive run save, okay?
Yes.
Fly balls are not caught in Little League. So, Mike, you did a good job. You made a nice play back in the day. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Well, keep the tales coming, good or bad. We love getting them here. natschatpodcast@gmail.com. You can always tweet us at the podcast as well, at @Nats_chat. All Nationals highlights on Nats Chat are brought to you by 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
So Jordan Zimmerman is the lone pitcher right now in the Nationals bullpen. There is Detwiler's numbers. You have to say he came in and did his job under terrific pressure tonight.
Absolutely, Dick. Outstanding performance by the young left-hander. Threw some quality strikes when he did miss the zone. He missed in his favor and gave his team a chance to win. That's all you can ask from a starting pitcher.
Cardinals' run was unearned. It came as a result of a sacrifice fly.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Memorial Day sale and get 30% off paints and stains May 16th through the 26th. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your bedroom, living room, or home office, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.